Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Bonsai Blacksmith. Here we're going to do the Langseax with the applewood handle, part 2, the long awaited. I appreciate everyone's patience for this second half. So we're going to change the handle from last time. So I'm going to show you the remounting of another piece of applewood, and I'll show you why that is. And I'll also explain some other hurdles I had to overcome in the process of making this CX. So let's get started. Alright, so I have the piece of applewood from before, but after it's dried out, I realized this was a piece of wood that was closer to the tree branch. So it was actually still had some green wood left in the heartwood. So what I notice is the checks happened right around where I burned it, so that's where it dried out the fastest. So I checked. That's pretty obvious. I put a lot of coats of mineral oil on it to protect that, but I'm going to do some measures to save this block of applewood, but that's going to be for another video another time. So I have another piece of applewood that I have a pilot hole in. I'm going to go ahead and take the Langseax and mount it into that piece of applewood. So I'm going to heat up the tang and insert it just like we did in part 1. Alright, so moment of truth. That sink. We don't want to cook the wood too much, so we'll pull that out and rinse and repeat. All right, so moment of truth. Let that sink. We don't want to cook the wood too much, so we'll pull that out and rinse and repeat. Alright, so we did the first pass there. There's what the original looks like, and you can see with the stress, the checks really cracked out. So we're gonna, I see where we have checks in here as well, but I'm gonna stabilize that with epoxy and clamp that and let that rest once I get the handle formed. So I'm gonna do another pass on that now. Again, the reason these are checking in the heartwood is part of the branch was still alive when I cut it from the tree. The further from the tree, the more dead the wood, the less checking there is, because it was dead drying on the tree in the atmosphere longer. So we'll get it though. It's a learning curve. All right, it's round 2 for fitting. Almost there, and I would say that's success. Again, we don't want to cook the wood. Doing good. Clean up that tang. Let's temper this blade. Alright, so I'm heating up the CX now, blade edge down, because I'm going to do a blade quench in oil. Now we did this in water for part 1, but that was a mistake. Plus also heating the tang back up draws the temper out of the steel, so you got to do this again anyway. The oil, I'm going to use oil this time. It's much more forgiving. And pour it right here. Fill up this pan. Just doing the edge. The very edge. Got to get the blade a little hotter. Excuse me. Got another 15 seconds of heat. Now I'm going to take the blade out of the fire by the spine. And place the spine right into the oil, like so. And only the edge will harden in the oil. About level. Do this until the blade goes gray. Once the blade goes gray, I'm going to use the anvil to suck the heat out of it. And if this isn't too hot, I'll place this on the stove. And that's it. Careful with that oil though. Alright, so I got my epoxy here, my two-stage epoxy. I'm just going to mix this up for a few seconds. So I have the blade rough shaped, rough profiled. I'm going to do a lot more cleaning once it's been mounted to the handle. Here's the apple wood. Gonna wrap it in this towel to protect it from getting vise bites. Put that in the vise. There we go. Orient it correctly so the front and the top and the back are all the right way. All right. So I'm going to cover the tang with the epoxy, like so. Just about half of it, a third of the tang maybe, because we're going to have some push out for sure. Get that lined up right here into the hole. Get the brass hammer. Tap this in and tighten up that vise. A little bit more tight. All right. I think that's all. I'm going to add a little bit more epoxy to the areas that are checked. Try to not get it on the blade, but if you do, we can get it off with a knife later. Not a big deal. I'm going to make sure there's epoxy in the check marks so they don't grow. Yep. Take this. Most of the check marks are there. Okay. Now I actually just want to center that a little bit. The hole's got a little play, so I'm going to work with the play a little bit. There we go. Put some epoxy on this side. Make sure it gets down in there. And there it is. I'm going to wait until morning, and then I'll shape the handle and clean up the blade. Good morning. Just another day in northern Maine. Good morning. Here we have the knife all glued up. I kept the wood stove burning all night so it wouldn't get below freezing in here. It looks like it's seated just fine. It's time for me to remove this from the vise. And this is what we got so far. So it's time for me to profile this handle and clean up the blade a little bit more. I'm not sure what finish I want to leave on the blade. I might leave it more rustic since I didn't do the greatest of chisel jobs on this. This is the first time I'm making a Langseax of this style with this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? This type of feature. That's the word I'm looking for. So this apple wood looks beautiful, so I'm excited to get that reduced and oiled down and show you guys what that looks like. Alright, so I've profiled the handle. I can see where the epoxy chased some of the checking from the green part of the wood that was left where I entered the wood with the tang. Let's start with 220. I already have a 120 finish on there. Bring that down. So I'm just going to hand sand that like so. I already have the contours and the dimensions I want for this. So I'm just getting the grain size down, the finish size down. I'm going to go to a 320. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply oil to the handle. And then go ahead and finish cleaning the blade, as well as put an edge on it. So those are my next steps. But this is going to, hand sanding is going to probably take me another 20 minutes, so I'm probably going to speed ahead. I'll give you a zoom up on the handle before I apply oil and afterwards as well. So I'll be right back. Let's skip ahead. Alright, so I got the handle here sanded up to 320. I can really see the grain coming out already, and I don't even have the oil on there yet. So just getting some last moment spots here. Just give you an idea what this is starting to look like. So yeah, let me get a little more sanding on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean up the blade. Alright, so I have everything sanded the way I want, so I'm going to go ahead and apply the mineral oil now. See how that works out. Should be the magic part of the video. See how well these colors come out once the oil is applied. So far so good. Need some more oil on that. It's really going to transform with the oil. It's also going to help preserve the oil from any shrinkage. It's going to slow the shrinkage down. It's going to help occupy the spaces between the cells with, hopefully with some oil there, some oil absorption. That's the hope. I'll get a little more oil on that. It's very pretty though. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I'm always happy to hear from my people watching and subscribers and what have you. So this is a learning experience as well for many people. Yeah, I think the second coat's going to really make a difference on this. These colors coming out are just purely incredible. Incredible. I really can't complain about that. Look at this. Sorry for any flickering there. I've been playing with the shutter speeds, and no matter what, the generator power here is too unpredictable for the shutter to manage sometimes. Alright, so let's get the blade cleaned up. I'm going to use my new cell phone here to capture the quality of the handle wood and the grain. It's just, this phone seems to not be bothered by the frequency of the generator electricity through the LEDs. So yeah, it's a very beautiful grain on that. Let's get this blade cleaned up. I'm probably going to leave it a bit brute, but it is supposed to be a 7th century knife after all. Now you can see that I've profiled and cleaned this blade up a lot more. I got my sanding block and some 220 sandpaper. Currently I'm at 120 now on the blade, and I need to go up to, well, I'd like to go up the 220, but we'll see how it goes. Use a sanding block. Help even out these valleys a little bit. Focus on the edge that I was grinding. And then I'll freehand with sandpaper after the blocking on each side. And that way it'll help get those valleys in the maker's mark as well. Will come more clear. So I'm just going to sanding block this side. And then I'm going to sanding block the other side. And then I'm going to freehand this side and freehand the other side. And then I'll show you what this looks like. Update. Do not sharpen your blade before you hand sand it. I mean, you can, but small accidents do happen. My pinky slipped past the sanding block, and well, unfortunately, I filleted myself on the edge. But nothing, no big deal, so don't look at that. So I'm going to finish hand sanding this, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I got the knife all sanded and oiled up. I'm going to keep the forge finish on it, so it's going to be a rough finish with a scratch 360. Not a perfect 360, far from it finish, but there is the blade. And let me put that down so you can see what's going on. Very sharp, I got to be careful. There we go. All right, well, here we have the Essex style Langseax, about 7th or 8th century design. The fuller on one side, making it Essex style, maker's mark. I sharpened it on both sides. It's got the applewood, heartwood handle from an apple tree right next to the blacksmith shop here, off a dead limb. I'll do some cut tests when it's not snowing outside. But it's sharp enough to cut me. Here's proof. So again, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for hanging out for both part 1 and part 2. If you missed part 1, I'll put a link in the description. And until next time, take care.